Well, hey everybody, I just want to stop in again and give you an update on how we do our lower thirds and some other ProPresenter 7 functions here at our church. I posted a video a little while back as I was scrambling to try to figure all this out. In the past 6 months, obviously, so much has changed in technology and in church life. And so we have grown and developed and learned a few things that I just want to share with you. There is a million ways to do this. And so I hope you found something that works for you. Hopefully this is just something just to helps you maybe see something a little bit differently from a different angle or a different perspective, spurs on another thought, and motivates your creativity a little bit. So let's dive in to how we do things here. The very first thing that I wanted to mention is some of our hardware. We have got an iMac, which I will show you the specs right here. It's kind of important to know what gear we're using, and so this is the computer we're using. It is a little bit slow, a little bit sluggish for what we're trying to do, but it does work. We're also using this little HDMI splitter, and one of the HDMI outputs is going to our main screens, and another one is going to our stage display, which is just a rear projector that the band can see. We also have a Blackmagic DeckLink Duo 2, and that gives us 4 SDI ports to kind of do whatever we want with. 2 of them are the key and fill inputs to our Blackmagic ATEM switcher, and then one of them I'm using as a return video input if I want to do iMag on our main screen. So I'm using 3 of those SDI ports for that purpose. Now, all of those get configured in ProPresenter 7 like this. So if we go to our screens and say configure screens, again, there are tons of videos on all of this on ProPresenter's website, and so go see that for more detail. But just to show you really quickly, our main output right here, which is our main projector screens, this decimator, basically this little HDMI splitter is then being fed into a decimator that changes it to SDI and goes to our projector. So that's that. Then our lower thirds, and you can see it's on, it's on the left side there, and then our lower thirds, that's the DeckLink Duo 1, and it is set to be an alpha key, and that's enabled there. And so that then when you go into the DeckLink Duo's preferences, the ports 1 and 2 are linked together. And so if you do this, if you go into your desktop video setup for your DeckLink and you go to, I forgot where it is now, but basically the 1 and 2 are they're the key and fill for our lower thirds, and that's being fed directly to our ATEM switcher. We're not using this one right now, but then our stage display, this is the other side of that little HDMI splitter, and that's going again into a decimator unit that's sending SDI to our rear projector. So basically 3 main things. This multi-view here is just actually the multi-view that I'm looking at right here. Just gives me a number of different looks there. Again, more information is on ProPresenter's website about how to set up all that stuff. But basically our stage display, and then our lower thirds getting the DeckLink Duo, and then our main output. Those are our main things. Now, before I get too far into explaining how we do things, there's one critical element. For us, we wanted our lower thirds to do a number of different things. And so how we've set it up is we take our, out of the DeckLink Duo 2, we have our key and our fill inputs going into our ATEM switcher, and then we use those for a downstream key, which you can see here. And so our fill source and our key source are set to fill and key, and that's just because I've named the different inputs, key and fill. And so I have on input number 6, there's the key input, and on input number 8, there's the fill input. No good reason why it's 6 and 8, it's just what it is. And so you have to have 2 inputs coming into your video switcher to really do this properly. But then what we do is we always have the downstream key 1 live and on the air. we never take that off. So that just sits on all the time. Unless something goes wrong, then our video director can choose to take it off, but we prefer to leave it on all the time. And that way, then we use looks and actions in ProPresenter 7 to either let those lower thirds actually do something on top of our video or have them be removed altogether. And that's important because as you'll see in a little bit, we like to share some things full screen from ProPresenter that will go full screen to our broadcast without having to use an additional input. So we actually don't have an input that comes from ProPresenter, like the main output of ProPresenter. We don't have that as an input coming into the switcher. All we have is the key and fill sources coming into the switcher. And if we want something to be full screen, then I do that within the looks and the actions in ProPresenter. Does that make sense? So let me show you kind of what I mean. So at the very beginning of our service, if you were to come up to and start playing our announcement loop, you'll see that our main output right here and our lower thirds are exactly the same. Now I've done that because this, and you can see I have another window open that will show you the program feed. So that's what's actually being sent to broadcast right now. That's what's being sent to our encoder at the moment. And so you can see everything's full screen. So if you're in the room, you would see full screen. If you were watching online, it would be full screen. Now how I do that is I apply a certain action that I have called all content. And so what I've done is in my looks, this action, this look called all content basically just mirrors everything across all of my outputs. So all the props, all the announcements, as you can see right here, everything's identical. So whatever happens on my main output happens on my lower thirds. And so that way I can duplicate things. That's kind of nice because basically we can have this looping before our service goes. And then as soon as the countdown clock hits 0, our operator can select this name slide right here, which you'll see right away reveals the camera to the broadcast. The lower thirds content gets removed completely, and now the camera is live. The video switcher didn't have to do anything. He didn't have to switch between any inputs. That was caused by the media operator. And we have just found for us, and this is just a personal thing for us, that kind of helps us a little bit. Now, how I did that was when you click this slide, there's some clear cues. So I cleared the messages, I cleared the announcement slides, and I changed the look. Now this look is no text formatting. And so if we're gonna go and look at what that looks like, no text formatting, as you can see on this lower thirds column, will show a slide element, but no media, no announcements, nothing like that, no text formatting. So basically, whatever text you have on that screen in your room, in the auditorium or whatnot, will come through the broadcast exactly the same way. And that's what allows us then to, if we go to this next slide, for example, you can see that we've got a name slide that then does appear on our program feed, and it also appears in our house. Now this particular name slide isn't a text that I added in ProPresenter. It's actually a PNG image that I created in another program, and I brought in a media item, and it's one of these name slide lower third PNGs, and so I put that on there. And again, just to confirm, this action has no text formatting. So that way, our screens in the auditorium have this, and our lower thirds have this. And so that's what I've done there. So that's how that audience look works. Then let's go to the songs and look at kind of how that works. So for us, I had to put this little thing in here because we do something with stage display charts that I'll describe in a little bit that kind of have a bit of a bug in ProPresenter. And so sometimes you have to click on this slide, and I just clicked on it and now it's having a hard time. And then sometimes you have to click on it again for the stage display chart to show properly, but that's just what this little thing is for. But basically, when you click on that slide right there, that is a different action. So if you look at what that one is, that is blank lower thirds. And basically what I wanted that to do, if we go into our looks and say what is blank lower thirds, it's basically the lower thirds does show the slide, but it gets a template and it is blank. And there's a good reason why I do that, as you'll see in just a little bit, but that helps smooth things out a little bit on how we move between things. So this one gets the action blank lower thirds, which basically doesn't show anything. So that basically clears everything out entirely. Now when we go to the next slide, you can see what happens. The lower third slowly fades in on the program output, and I have formatted it in a way that has a little bit of a black fade behind it, an opaque a black that starts a little darker at the bottom and fades up towards the top. I know everyone does lower thirds lyrics a little bit differently, but this is how we formatted ours. You can see our main output in the house formats the lyrics at the very top of the screen, and the lower thirds gets a little bit smaller and goes to the bottom of the screen. Again, that look is the text lower thirds look. And so if we go to edit looks and take a look at that one, that basically shows that the main output can do these things. The lower thirds just shows the slide element with a template or a theme attached to it. And this particular theme I have made looks like this. And you can see if we go into our editor kind of what that looks like. And Exodus, basically I have this text box here, and then I have a little rectangle at the bottom. It's a little hard to see, but it's black, and then it fades up to 100% opaque. And for us, if you see our program output, that just adds a little bit of black in the background, not too much, to help the text pop just a tiny bit. And that's just the way we've been doing it here. You can do it however you like. So as we go through the song, you can see what I like to do is for us, we use a dissolve, a 0.6 second dissolve between each slide. And so when we do that, you can see what happens on the program output. It slowly fades the text. Now, when I go to this blank slide, it actually takes away that black background altogether and slowly fades it out. And that's just something that we wanted when we were normally just applying the same action across the board. What would happen is that you would go to a blank slide, but that black background would still stay on the screen, and we didn't want that. We wanted it to clear out altogether. So every blank slide has a blank lower thirds look as opposed to the text lower thirds look. And so we do that on our start slides, and we do that on our blank slides. Now, you may have been looking at the song and going, what is up with those stage display charts? And I have been doing this for years. I've been hand making stage display charts that coordinate with every song. Been doing this for several years now and have quite the library. But each song section, as you see as I'm moving through, so the chorus 1, verse 2, has its own unique stage display that pops up on our rear screen here, so our musicians don't have to use music stands on Sunday mornings. It gives a little bit, this blue bar in the background or on the bottom of the stage display chart has the preview of what's coming next, basically. And for every section, for every song, here are the chords in every key that we do the songs. And so that's something, if you're interested in that, if you're like, how do I get that? How do I apply that to my church and my context? I'm trying to make those available in some way, shape, or form. So stay tuned for that, or reach out if you have an interest in that, and I'll point you in the right direction. But to do that, basically what you do is I create a document in a program. You can do it in Photoshop or whatever. I use a program called Affinity Designer. and it's a program that I've just gotten used to. It's a little bit easier for me than Illustrator, and I have made this template that then I can use over and over again for each song section. And so I put the intro of the song, the verse chords or whatnot, any notes, and then the next section. And then I just follow the progression of the song. And if we do the song differently, spontaneously, that's okay. We can kind of bounce around if we know the song well enough. But so I do all of those charts, then export each one of these charts as a JPEG. I used to do them as PDFs. They were a little smaller that way, but somehow, some way, ProPresenter doesn't like PDFs anymore. It converts all the PDFs to PNGs randomly, and so JPEGs seem to work a little bit better for us. So I make the stage display charts, then I come into the song, and I'll, in the editor, for each section, go to the slide element, and then there's a chord chart option here. And so basically for each chord chart, I will, or for each song section rather, I'll come into my stage display charts, and all these sections on the side, I'll just come and drag them in to the proper window, to proper section. And that's how it builds the stage display charts. So then for actually displaying the stage charts on the back wall, you also see that I have a stage action applied to these slides as well. In fact, I have stage actions applied to almost every element in my ProPresenter presentation. So that's the other thing. I add an audience look and a stage action, if you will, to every slide element that we do. In this case, the stage action is songs, and then I hit stage plus audience. I'll show you what that looks like. So if we go to our stage layouts, I have a preset called songs right here, where I have added a shape, and then I fill that shape with the chord chart. And so that's just an option that you can do within ProPresenter. So then that chord chart displays full screen back there. If you wanted, you could shrink this and put in a countdown clock or a regular clock or messages or whatever you wanted to do, but that's how we do it. And again, I have stage layouts for every different section. I won't get too far into the weeds there. But as you can see, so this is how we do lower thirds now, and they fade nicely. The blank sections go away. When it comes to our announcements, it depends if we're doing an announcement video or just regular announcements, but similarly to that first name slide that I showed you, if you click this one, you'll see a little name slide happen in the bottom right. And then this is an announcement video. So what I've done here is, again, I've added another action, and this would be the all content action for this video. So for our announcement videos, again, our video director doesn't have to switch anything. It all happens here from ProPresenter. So for example, if I click this video,
hey church family,
it's going to show up
and
full screen, both in our auditorium and to our broadcast. And so as soon as this is done, I actually have this on a timer, and so I match the time. I put in a go to next timer and select the number of seconds, and as soon as the video is done, then it automatically advances to this slide, which removes the lower thirds content, which is all screen, and then reveals the camera in the background. Again, our video director doesn't have to switch. It's just the way we've decided to do it, but it's been helpful for us. Okay, something I wanted to mention really quick is actually really important to this whole thing that I forgot to film earlier, is what if we are doing announcements that aren't a video, and I just want to layer some custom sweet looking lower thirds stuff on top of that. Let me show you how we do it. So this is our, if we're not doing an announcement video, if we're just doing announcements live from the platform, then this is how we build it right here. And so this welcome slide has the audience look, no text formatting, and that allows this little, lower thirds name slide to come up. But then, let's say our first announcement, our online living room announcement. I click that, and you can see that the lower third has this kind of custom graphic that I have designed ahead of time. It's a PNG, and I brought it in here. So the look for this section is a little bit differently. So if you go into look and see what the look is, it's the announcement look, and we will preview that here. So this is what that looks like. So my lower thirds displays the slide element, but not the media element. And my main output shows the media element, but not the slide element. So when I'm building the announcements, this is what I do. I grab for the background for what I want our audience to see in our auditorium. I go and drag in a full screen slide that I've created. So like, in this case, it's like our main online living room slide. So I just drag this guy right into there. That becomes the background element of that slide. Then to actually put in this little lower thirds action, as I go into the editor and I add a media element, find the right file, the lower thirds file that I've custom designed for that, drag it in here. And so now they're kind of stacked on top of each other. The lower third is kind of stacked on top of the background, the full screen background. But because of the way the look is set up, when I click this, the main background shows on the auditorium projectors, and just the lower third with a transparent background shows up for the online audience on the program feed. And you can see that below me. And so you can be totally creative with this approach, and you can basically layer anything on top of anything. And so this kind of opens up the door to just a lot of things you can do with lower thirds. This is what we're doing at the moment. We could kind of change it around, but these are kind of our custom lower thirds graphics. You, with your design prowess, you can design whatever you like, but that's at least how we do that. So I covered that. Now let's get back to the other video. So again, all the songs are the same in that way. So you go to the next slide and you can see that the lower thirds went away, and then the song happens that way. Just a little note, I've set up this one to not do anything in the house or on the lower thirds, just in case one of our operators clicks this. This is just meant to be a guide, a cue, just something that tells them what to do. Just tells them to slowly double click this slide. And I didn't want them to accidentally click that and have it displayed in the house. And so I have added an action called no text. And that basically just doesn't have basically much of anything happening. And so there's no text happening on the lower thirds, nothing at all. So, and it allows the background to come through still. Won't change what's happening going on in the background in the auditorium, as you can see. Let's go to the messages. I'll show you kind of how I do that. So for our messages, we do things, it's a little in depth, but I've been enjoying our results. So as you can see, as I click that slide, what you noticed on our lower thirds, now this particular camera, maybe I can switch to a different camera. You might be able to see a little bit of a difference. If that's zoomed into our lead pastor, the lower thirds in his name slide actually come across a little bit more dominantly, as the background is darker. But as you can see, as I click through these slides, you can see a little bit of this is like a template that we've created. And so for notes, it has a little lower third custom graphic that I've designed all this in Affinity Designer. And then I've brought them in individually in our themes. And I'll walk you through that in a second. So our sermon notes get that kind of a look. There is a slide that just has the little sermon bug in the lower left-hand corner without his name slide. And then for the Bible, there's a bit of a custom graphic. Again, all this is custom designed in another program and then brought in to ProPresenter. I don't design all this within ProPresenter, although you probably could do some of that and have it animated and do different things, but this is just kind of what we're doing right now. And as you can see, it just layers the lower third on very beautifully, and it works really great for us. So each of these elements then have a different audience look. So the action for this one is message title 2. And if I go into looks here, I go into message title 2, and I can see that my lower thirds will display the slide with a theme attached to it. A message theme that I've custom designed called title 2 lower third that has the little bug and the name slide in it. Again, that's a PNG. It's a transparent PNG that I've drug in to this, as you'll see right now. And I basically just created a slide, and this is just a PNG, again, that I've created in a different program. And so I did that with this title slide, and this is just in the theme editor. And then this is how we edit our Bible for this series. And then again, I layered in this background and then just put these 2 text boxes on top of my graphic in the background. And that's how we do Bible lower thirds. This one is a notes lower third. So again, this is just a transparent little image of a brick wall back here, and this is a text element layered on top of that, formatted the way I want it, so on and so forth. So you can get really creative with this and do a number of different things depending on your needs. So for each of those, so the first thing you do is you have to go into themes and kind of build out what you want them to look like. Then you have to go into your looks and create different looks for each of those elements. So for my message Bible look, I'll have the same, this all looks the same when I go to notes and blank and title, right? All of these little check boxes are the same. The only thing that changes for these message things is the theme. And so this message theme is Bible lower third. And when I go to notes, this message theme is notes lower thirds. And when I go to message blank, this theme is message blank. It has nothing on it. Message title, this has message title right there. And then I randomly created one a little bit later on that says message title 2, and that just has the name slide attached with the bug. And so that's how we handle our message lower thirds content. So I know this was not an exhaustive how-to on how to do all these elements, but again, I hope just looking at this video gives you some encouragement and maybe some inspiration, and just lets you try some different things that you might not have thought possible, make it easier on your video director, and maybe just spice up your live streams a little bit. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more videos. Leave me a comment and reach out to me if you have any questions. I'll try to do my best to answer, and have a great day.
And when you move us to tears. And when you move